Our guests to discuss all of this, we have CNN senior national security analyst Lisa Monaco. She was special counsel Robert Mueller's chief of staff when he was the FBI director. We also have Mike Rogers, CNN national security commentator and former House Intel chairman. He did 6 years with the FBI. So you guys are the perfect people to talk about all of these things. Lisa, let me start with you. You just heard the president say that he feels badly for Mike Flynn. He immediately then pivoted, as he will do, to Hillary Clinton. How do you think we should be looking at these Michael Flynn developments?
Well, Allison, the plea that was taken by Michael Flynn on Friday is an example of the speed and the substance with which the Mueller special counsel investigation is moving. What the prosecutors now have in the form of a cooperator in Michael Flynn is basically a personal tour guide for the prosecution and for its investigation going forward. Michael Flynn being the senior-most individual in the campaign, in the transition, and in the beginning days of the White House, he can provide a lot of insight and a lot more information to the prosecutors as they continue their investigation. There's been a lot of focus on the fact that he pled to one count of false statements, but that does not by any stretch represent the full information that he has admitted to already or that he can and probably already has provided to the prosecutors.
Mike, how do you see it? I mean, I think that's an interesting personal tour guide approach. I think that helps get our minds around it. But he has to know something. And based on the looming charges that are bigger than the one count that he pled guilty to, it does seem as though Robert Mueller thinks that Mike Flynn holds the key to things. How do you see it?
Absolutely. I mean, again, this was somebody that was pretty instrumental both in the campaign and then after the election in the transition of the President Trump into the Barack Obama administration. So what's important about this is if you look at that, so what happens before you get to that plea deal is the FBI folks and the DOJ folks will sit in a room and say, guess what, it's not just about this. You have to tell us everything that you know. If you want this deal, you have to tell us everything. We have other charges we can charge you with. And it appears by all the comments that were made surrounding it that maybe his family members may have been implicated as well. All of that can go away if you give us full cooperation. And that full cooperation has to be robust. So before he signed that deal, I guarantee you they got a layout of what he could provide in that time he was with the transition after the election and in the time he was with the campaign prior to the election. That's clearly what the investigators were interested in those conversations. And saying that it was a more senior person certainly implicates other folks that are probably in the White House today.
Hey, Lisa, I want to read to you this tweet that has become problematic about what Donald Trump sent out this weekend about why he fired General Flynn. He says, I had to fire General Flynn because he lied to the vice president and the FBI. He has pled guilty to those lies. It is a shame because his actions during the transition were lawful. There was nothing to hide. That, as you know, has become problematic because the president wasn't supposed to know that Flynn had lied to the FBI or that wasn't supposed to be the rationale for firing him. So now President Trump's lawyer has said, actually, that was my tweet. I sent that out. I worded that. I sent that out. It wasn't the president's. If it was the president's lawyer, then no harm done, and this tweet goes away and it's not problematic?
No, absolutely not. I think that even if Dowd was the one to author the tweet, and, look, this is the statement of the president's defense counsel. He's going to make a whole bunch of statements that he thinks are going to be in his client's interest. Regardless of who authored it, this now opens up a whole new avenue, I would imagine, for Mueller and his team to try and figure out who was the author of that tweet. Is there any information to corroborate the Dowd's story that he's the one who authored it? But the other thing, Allison, to remember is as a legal matter, when it comes to obstruction, the president does not have to have known that Flynn lied. Obstruction requires knowing that an investigation exists and taking steps to impede it. But regardless, this statement over the weekend certainly is going to be problematic down the line.
Okay, Mike, last, I want to read to you yesterday Donald Trump's tweet. Nobody's disputing that he authored this one, and it's about the FBI. After years of Comey, with all of the phony and dishonest Clinton investigation and more, running the FBI, its reputation is in tatters. Worst in history, exclamation point. What do you think about the president saying, going after his top criminal justice agency?
Well, candidly, I think it verges on dangerous. You have FBI agents who are chasing violent criminals today around the country. They're chasing child pornographers today. They're chasing spies operating in the United States today and white-collar criminals, and the list is pretty long. And terrorism. They're trying to stop terrorism in the United States. The FBI's credibility is on the line every time an FBI agent shows up and opens up their credentials and introduces themselves as part of an organization that is respected around the world. And to have a president diminish that organization, I think, is absolutely crazy. And the president, this is where the president needs to start to understand that this is a little bit bigger than yourself in this case. I mean, the drama credit card of this administration is over its limit. You cannot continue to ramp up these, I think, pejorative attacks on Americans' institutions that we will need when the president is here and when the president is gone. These are really important. The men and women of the FBI, I think, deserve a lot better than